You're here standing up for the little guy, the working man? Well, there are working men and women buried right beneath our feet, right here. You don't trust the government? I get that. It hasn't always come through for everybody, but this isn't about the government or the 1% or whatever the hell you want to call them. It's about somebody out there that hates us, that stands against everything that we stand for, everything that makes us who we are. And they found a way to hurt us. It's that simple. And right now, these people need to get back to work and get those people out. And you need to let them. You want to stand by and offer your support and your prayers, that's great. But please, just do it from behind the barricade.
That was a moment from the new Netflix limited series 0 Day. It stars Robert De Niro. And join us right now are the co-creators of the show, writers and executive producers. It's a political thriller. Eric Newman is here, the showrunner behind some of Netflix's biggest hits. Michael Schmidt, also the New York Times investigative reporter. And Noah Oppenheim, former president of NBC News and writer of so many other great films. This is now #1 globally on the Netflix platform. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the reason we wanted to have you in here is, you know, if you watch this show, there's like a realistic potential thing maybe happening. Well, that's what I worry about. And I think if you're a business leader / person trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, it creates a lot of complex issues. What did you do? Where did this idea come from, and how realistic do you actually think it is?
Well, hopefully it's pretty realistic. Yeah. You know, obviously Mike and I are journalists, and as you mentioned, Eric's created some of Netflix's biggest hits like Narcos, which is obviously grounded in the real world. Yeah, I mean, we wanted to take a look at what we think is the biggest challenge facing the country and the world, which is this fractured media landscape and our really challenged relationship with the truth. And when a crisis unfolds against that backdrop where nobody can kind of agree on what's real and what's not, how does the country navigate its way through that crisis? And, you know, obviously we talked to a lot of our sources and friends in the world of politics, business, national security, technology, and, you know, we tried to ground the thing in the real world as much as possible.
In terms of the cyber piece of it, though, how much should we worry about that?
I mean, I'm shocked it hasn't happened on a bigger scale, you know, already. I mean, it happens every once in a while. You read about something, but at some point, it stands to reason that given how connected everything is and how reliant we are on technology, at some point, you know, one of these vulnerabilities is going to be exploited, and it's going to make a huge difference.
I love end of the world movies, but this is like a little too close to truth. This is so anxiety producing. Is that what you guys were going for? This is like a horror flick that really has me creeped out.
When I went to Washington like 12 years ago, the thing that everyone started saying, and has said since then, is that we're going to have like a cyber Pearl Harbor. We're going to have a cyber 9/11. I went to the Department of Homeland Security and I said, what would this look like? And they got out this thing that looked like from the 1950s, and it had like different light bulbs. And like, well, if this happens, this light bulb will go off. This show shows you what this could actually look like. It brings it to life. And if this is truly the threat that experts say it is, it's a way of saying, hey, America, this is what this could be. This is how devastating it could happen. And that's something that lawmakers and no one else can do, but you can do in the space that we are in this show.
Okay, do you think there's any way? I want to talk about De Niro and the whole sort of entertainment aspect of it all, but I'm also just very curious, have you had any feedback from politicians or other people who are saying we got to actually do something about this?
That wouldn't come to me. That would probably come to
I mean,
guys.
you know, Liz, we've heard from, you know, there's been a lot of commentary about how the show seems to mirror developments in the real world. You know, there's a character in the show who's a tech billionaire who's tangling with the government, seems to feel familiar to people for some reason. And so, you know, hearing a lot about that. And, you know, and again, we worked with a lot of cyber
When you were working on the film, though, Elon
was a while ago.
That's the crazy thing. I mean, we started on this 4+ years ago.
Right.
So all of the
Elon
things
was
that
not
people
in politics at that point.
No, Biden's cognitive issues were not issues at the time. I mean, there were any number.
So they told us.
So they told us, as far as we knew. But no, there were so many things that happened since, you know, while we were making the show that we would look at each other on set and go like, is this like, well, this is really getting close. So it was, the tech, you know, the Elon Musk, none of that had happened. And so we just chose to vilify this, you know, character from, you know, Silicon Valley type who you wouldn't want making decisions about really anything, and who yet is making these huge moves behind the scenes.
I haven't watched it yet, but what causes the zombies to actually? What causes the original reanimation? A virus or something? Or is that? You didn't do that. That's not in episode 7 or 8 or something.
No zombies.
All right.
No.
So a different end. Most end of the world.
There's zombies.
There's flesh-eating.
I want to know about De Niro, though. I want to know how you got him to do this.
It's all Eric.
It's funny.
Because he hasn't done a TV show.
No. He. Noah and I had our first conversation in 2021 now, where we were talking about the truth and how we had sort of, as a civilization, sort of retreated into these alternate realities. And, Bob obviously is is not shy about his political point of view. But I sat down with him at dinner in LA and I, told him this thing we were working on, and he instantly got it. And he thought, well, it's a compelling story, certainly. And it deals with, this relationship we have with the truth. And also, like all disaster stories, it's really about how we react to it.
Right.
The real disaster.
So here, I want to ask you the big truth question, which is, I think, at least I feel very conflicted about it. There's part of me that feels like I want to know everything. Mm-hmm. I want to know everything. I want everyone to put out whatever they want to say. Right? There's like a free speech thing. I get that.
Yep.
And then there's this other side, which is that in a free speech world where people can make up whatever they want, and that stuff can travel, and that stuff can travel oftentimes further than the correction can.
Yes.
What the right answer is.
I think what we're trying to say is that it is not in vogue to have a factual-based view of the world and to try and see the world for what it is. People want to see the world and take whatever they can from it to back up their preconceived beliefs. And what we're trying to say is that for us as a society to be successful, I think the more that we can look at things for what they are and not...
How do we do that?
Well, I mean, you're describing both the supply and demand problem, right? There's too much supply of facts and alternate facts.
And the public seems to want all this stuff.
Side of it. That's the demand side. How do you convince people that they should, shop in multiple sources and build their worldview based on many different perspectives as opposed to only the ones that feel satisfying?